This video is sponsored by Yellow Mountain Imports, the premier Go supply center for North America. For a limited time, you can get a 10% discount on any Go-related product with the discount code Sente10. The link is in the description below. Happy playing! Hello everyone, Sensei here, and welcome to a new video series I started up where we're covering lessons in the fundamentals of Go. This book is a really incredible book. It was pretty groundbreaking when it was released a very long time ago, and it's been sort of a staple in the Go students' study library ever since. It's incredibly sassy. It's a great read. I highly recommend picking it up. You can have a link in the description below if you feel like you want to. But I thought it would be really useful to go through the book and have an abridged instructional section. So I'll take chapter by chapter, this video is chapter 1, and go through the book, take some of the main ideas, main concepts, and main examples, and present them to you all so you can have the most in-depth study of this book as you can. This book covers everything from cutting and connecting, getting ahead of your opponent, positional judgment, joseki, to tsuji, ladders and nets. It covers literally everything. So I'm very excited to present this material for you all, and I hope you get a lot out of it. Before I get started, I just want to be very clear as to who this book is for. So if you've never played Go before, this is not the book for you. I recommend watching my Beginner Go series videos. I'll put a link in those in the description below, but those are where you want to start. You want to play a bunch of games, you want to get familiarized with the rules, you want to mess things up, you want to lose games, there's an old saying in Go, lose your first 100 games as fast as you can. So that's what you should do if you've never played. This book is for intermediate, just getting into the intermediate level of Go, I would say. And it's a great study tool for intermediate and advanced players. I'm actually going through it myself to try to work on my own game. So if you do like this series, like, comment, let me know, and I'll do the rest of the chapters. Simple as that. Hope you enjoy it. And without further ado, let's get started. So we are working on chapter 1 right now, which is ladders and nets. They poke a little bit of fun in the beginning of this chapter, saying that anyone reading this will probably scoff and be like, "Oh, I know about ladders and nets. I don't need to learn this." And he actually calls people like that out. He's like, actually, you should absolutely practice ladders and nets because they're everywhere and you need to get better at your reading. And actually going through this book, there were problems that I failed because I couldn't read far enough and I didn't have the right skill set. So I highly recommend going through this chapter. For anyone that doesn't know what ladders and nets are, a ladder is this type of situation. One stone is in Atari, surrounded by opposing stones, and if white tries to escape, like here, black is going to cover. White tries to escape. Black is going to Atari. White tries to escape. Black is going to Atari. All the way down until something happens. Now, usually what would happen, ideally, what would happen for the person doing the laddering is that this pattern would continue until it gets to the very edge of the board. And once it gets to the edge of the board, white runs out of liberties, and black can capture the entire thing. However, if at the start of this ladder, let's say there's a stone here, and now we try, something changes. Because if the ladder that is of whites comes anywhere close to an ally stone, like we see here, white gets 3 extra liberties. And those 3 extra liberties make it so that black cannot keep Atariing the white group, and white is free to double Atari any 2 black stones that white wants. And from then on, black's shape is decimated, white's group is alive, and it's generally very bad for black if this were to happen. So when you're looking at ladders, the goal is, if you're doing the laddering, you want to make sure that this zigzag line is completely clear of any sort of enemy stones. However, ladders can be very complicated very quickly, and we're going to take you through the first example that they showed in their book. So let's take this sample game as an example. And this is going to be a quiz style video. So I want you to pause and I want you to really try to get these answers. Set the board up yourself if you need to, get a demo board going on, whatever you feel like you need to do. Now, it is white to play, and white can choose to continue with this ladder or give up on it. Does the ladder work for white? I'll pause the video right now, read it out. It's going to take a while to read, and see what you can find. Well, hopefully you've paused the video and you've read it out. So I'm going to show you the answer. This is one of the really, really weird things and tricky things about ladders, is that you really need to go stone by stone and read it out. White, black, white, black, white, black, white, black, white, black. You need to go all the way down and read it stone by stone, because if you don't, if you rely on tricks or you just assume, there's a very good chance you can read it wrong. This ladder actually fails for white, so white will get captured if white tries to play this out, and I'll show you. So we're going to play exactly like normal. Now, if you got this wrong and you thought that white was able to live because there were stones here, keep trying to read, and you might see it come together as we get closer. So white's going to get closer and closer and closer and closer. White connects up. However, because of these two stones, black actually can Atari with this move. There's nothing else white can do, and white gets captured. This example was shown in the book to try to show players that ladders can be extremely tricky, and that you always need to read very carefully whenever you're trying to see if a ladder works or doesn't work. It's not always as simple as, oh, there's a white stone in the way, that means the ladder works out. Not always. Not always. Here is the same example, but closer. The same shape from the last example that was down here, we actually just moved from here all the way up here to make reading the ladder a little bit easier. Now, I just want you to take a second to try to read it out again without going across the entire board, and see, does it starting to come together for you? Does it make more sense now that you can read it? You can go white, black, white, black, white, black, white, and then you see the shape in your mind, and then you say, oh, black and Atari if they play here. Just take a small second and try to read that out for yourselves. The more practice you get reading, the more you'll be able to see these types of shapes, and the more you'll be able to outread your opponents, and the better you'll get. Okay, so now we're going to look at an example where the ladder does not work, and what to do if the ladder doesn't work. So given this board situation, give it a little analysis and see what would happen if black were to try to activate the ladder right now. Well, as if you've seen our practice from the last example, probably not. White has allies here and here, and white is going to run into those allies as the ladder extends down the board, and white's going to free itself. So black cannot capture white in a ladder. So what do you do instead? What happens if someone cuts and the ladder does not work? Well, it's important to know what doesn't work and what you shouldn't do just as much as what you should do. And that's what I like about this book. They gave us 3 examples of what not to do. That is a generally poor result for black. Not as good as the actual solution. The first mistake a lot of amateurs try to make is they try to maybe to a counter surround nets type of situation, like here, but they're not really reading it out. If you play here, white's going to leave and then go down, and then white's going to complete the capture of the group with this stone. If this flow happens, white captures these 2 stones, white has a huge corner now. Black's thickness is not really doing as much as black would like. The entire side territory is undercut. It's generally not a favorable result for black. So the best solution for this problem is actually to play what's called a ladder breaker. And ladder breakers are Sente moves that serve 2 purposes. They threaten something, but as a side effect, they also break the ladder in your favor. So a good ladder breaker move would be actually right here. Because if white responds, just like white would, this ladder now works for black. So if white plays here, we can see that once it gets to this stone, the ladder breaker works and white ends up being captured, whereas otherwise white would not end up being captured. But what happens if white doesn't take the bait? What do you do? Now, another amateur mistake is to play a Sensei move offering an exchange, right? This move says we are offering to exchange my top side with your corner. And then your opponent says, oh, okay, sure, I'll take that trade. And then they double back and they're like, actually, I don't really want to trade. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. We shouldn't have done this. We shouldn't do this. And now you've invested a move that has decimated your shape. And maybe white gets a chance to come back here and white ends up being safe. And not only did you not capture this upper stone, but you didn't get the corner like you wanted to trade off. So it's important when you make offers and trades in Go that you follow through with them so long as you had a plan, right? So if white decides to take that offer, black is obligated to follow through. Continue cutting white's shape apart, make sure that black takes this left corner in exchange for this, and the game can stay relatively even. But if you try to make a trade and then do a bunch of different things to go back on that trade, generally it's not going to work out well for you because you're going to end up getting nothing instead of the thing that you wanted to bargain for. So now let's say white does defend. Cool. Black starts the ladder. Works for black. Everything is great. Let's say white May plays another move here. Just does something else. Right? Maybe here. So, some other move. Right? It's very important. The book says that it's very, very important to remove the aji of such a critical shape point, even at the cost of another move. This makes sure that your stones are strong, that makes sure that your groups cannot be cut apart later on in the game, and makes sure that there's no more leverage that white can use to get forcing moves in this area. And the advanced move is to remove that aji before you try to do anything else. I was going to read a passage from this book because that's actually pretty cool. It says, I imagine there are those who think black ought to wait until the ladder becomes broken and then capture. But that is the shallow thinking of an amateur. Black 5 is the proper time to capture. To leave this move unplayed and turn elsewhere would be like trying to run a business while in debt. This would give me, at least, a very uneasy feeling. And that is all we have for the ladder section. And now we turn our attention to the last half of chapter 2, which is the net section. Nets are more efficient than ladders, because ladders take multiple moves to actually end up capturing, whereas nets only take one. There is less aji for nets, and they're generally more secure. So just to go through exactly what a net is, let's say that black wants to capture this stone in one move without using a ladder. Of course, black could do this, and then the ladder starts, right? That's totally possible. But there's a better way. If black plays here, black unambiguously captures the stone in a net. And the reason is because if white tries to escape, there is no way. You can see that this stone, along with the others, casts a literal net around this area of the board, and white cannot escape anymore. That is a pretty nifty move to have in your toolbox. Now let's go to some examples to learn how best to use nets. Now, black has two choices here. Black can capture in a ladder, as we saw before with this move. But is there something better? Is there a better way that black can handle this position? Give it a look, and let me know what you think. I'm going to pause the video and come back. There's actually a way for black to capture this in a net, and it's an advanced net. This is like a weird combination net ladder thing. And this is, honestly, this feels more like a Tsuji than a straight up net. Like, it's an advanced thing that you have to read out. But when you do read it out, it'll unlock a whole bunch of other opportunities, and you're going to see these all the time in your games. And the starting move is right here. Black plays here. and white tries to escape, this is an Atari. White goes over here. That's an Atari. White plays here. And now we've got white in a ladder. Right? Atari and capture. So it's like a net / ladder. And it's really, really cool. And this works even if white plays here first. Even if white plays here first, black can hit at the head. White goes down. Black continues to follow. Atari. Bam. Captured. No matter what white does, there is no way for white to escape. Here's the second problem. And as we know, the answer is not to play a ladder in this direction. We need to try to figure out something that black can do that is not just yeeting a ladder off into the edge of the board down there. So, what is the best option for black? I'm sure a lot of you thought of this move. I'm sure a lot of you thought of this move, and I thought of this move, and that was my first idea. It works, but it's wrong. It's not the right move. It works. It does not fail. It does not fail. It's the right thing. It will capture the white stones. But the reason it's wrong is not because it doesn't work. It's because it's not as efficient as what you could play instead. When you're trying to work through nets, you have to think about future forcing moves, right? Because white could threaten a breakout and poke at this shape, which means black would have to cover. Black would have to cover to keep the stone captured, right? So when we work on our nets, we want to make sure that we play moves that have the least damaging forcing moves available. Kageyama actually calls this firmness. You want to play moves that are the most firm when capturing. And so there's actually another way to capture these stones in a net, but it starts out with an Atari in a certain direction, and that is this move. Playing this move curls around and makes this black shape very, very strong. And then if white tries to escape, now we play the net. The pokes are much less severe than before. You can see that with the addition of this turn, black shape is much stronger. Black has more entry points into white's area here. It's much more severe than this move. And it's only a 1 stone difference, but in an advanced level, that actually makes a big difference. Okay, next problem. We're going to keep going here, and by the time we're done, you guys are going to be well equipped. We have 2 options, A and B. Both moves capture the white stone, but which one is firmer? Which one attains this idea of eliminating the debilitating forcing moves as you play out the net? Give it a second, do some reading, read out some variations, and these are hard. These are not easy, and I will show you the answer. Okay, the correct answer is actually black at A. This is the correct move. Because if white goes out, black can net. And you might think, oh, but what about this Atari? Right? Like, that's a thing. But black has a Tsuji up their sleeve. When black defends and white tries to Atari, black's going to Atari. White takes. Black Ataris. White defends. Black Ataris. And black captures the entire thing. It is an unambiguous capture. And this Atari actually does absolutely nothing. It actually just serves to make white lose even more stones. If black were to play here, now white can Atari. Maybe get another forcing move here on the outside. Black is forced to connect here. White can maybe extend or use this as an opportunity to leave. And now white has a shape that isn't strong, but it's out and it's not in immediate danger. And if you can imagine, maybe there's some white stones like peppered on this side of the board, we could sort of see how that becomes a little bit more of a problem in a situational context, even though black managed to capture this stone. Try to look for it. And we're going to keep looking at these problems. There's 3 or 4 more. But once you solve all these, you're going to be well on your way. So let's keep going. Okay, your choices to capture these 2 white stones are A and B. Also, by the way, I just want to say that he is so sassy in this book. He goes, if you got the first 2 problems right and slip up on this one, you did not really understand the first 2. He is a savage. Okay, do not read this book unless you're willing to get roasted, because he will roast you. It doesn't matter who you are. The correct answer is A. A is the correct answer. No matter what white tries to do, Black makes a very strong shape. Even if white tries to escape here at C, black has this squeezing to Tsuji at D. This threatens to capture the stones in a single move. If white tries to escape, then we've got more squeezes. And there's not really anything that you can do after this. So why is that better than the other one? Well, because here, white has this poke. And if white has that poke, white can get an extra stone on the outside, and white's poke is not as strong if we go here first. It's a really subtle difference, but it can make or break a game if certain turns are weak or white gets an extra forcing move somewhere else. And these are the sorts of things that separate an amateur player from an advanced player, and yet are still the fundamentals of the game, which is really, really cool. I hope you're staying with me. We have got 2 more examples. 2 more examples. And they're doozies. They're really hard. Okay? So get ready. Get some water, get a snack, just get up, stretch around. Black to move. Can black capture the marked stone? They're not even saying that you can. They're asking you, can you capture it? Pause the video, check it out, try to read it. Cry a little bit. It's hard. Then get back to me. The correct answer is this move right here. It's a kind of like a net ladder combination like we saw before. If white tries to escape, black has it covered. If white continues, black continues. White pushes, black pushes. The Ataris don't actually do anything here in this situation. And black captures. Now, what happens, though? What happens if white goes here? Because if black plays this, white has this Atari, right? Atari, there, Atari, out, and now white escapes. But if white does do this, it's okay. Black has a backup plan by pulling back here. It's a really sneaky continuation, but this pullback is really important for trying to net stuff and capture stuff, and it's a great tactic to use if you need a few more liberties on your attacking and surrounding stones. White plays here, black goes like this, and now there are no more cuts or things that white can do. White just gets captured. If you wanted to do this move first and then this one, it almost worked. The problem is there's this Atari, right? Then there's this Atari, then there's this Atari, and now white is out. Black can try to squeeze here, but it doesn't almost work, but it doesn't quite work. So that was really tough. I totally get it if you missed that one, but it's a really important thing to keep working on. As long as you keep drilling these shapes, you keep drilling these pullback to Tsujis, the combo ladder nets, then you're well on your way. So the last problem of the video, congratulations. If you made it this far, give yourself a pat on the back. You are a superstar. And it's another very difficult one. So black needs to try to capture the marked stones. How do they do it? Pause the video. See if you can figure it out. The correct answer is this move. This move captures the white stones unequivocally. But the question is, can you read out everything that white could try to do and all of black's responses? Because if black messes up a response, then white can escape. Just take a second, try to read out everything white can do and get back to me. Cool. Let's progress forward with the sequence. So, white tries to escape. Black hanes. White hanes. Now remember, this hane is a trap. If black tries to cut, white's going to Atari, and then Atari, and then get out. So black needs to be very careful and remember the Tsuji. Remember the pullback Tsuji that we learned in the previous problem. This is the move. This offers a Mii situation for white. If white decides to protect here, black descends. If white tries to go here, then black just cuts and everything's fine. Let's look at the more complicated variation, where black cuts this way. White descends. We're getting into more ladder territory now. Kind of a loose ladder net situation. Goes out here, cuts again. descend, block. Now, here's where it gets insane. White's going to Atari. Black is going to counter Atari. White descends, Atari. Black's only choice is to take. Black Ataris this stone, and this stone. White has to fill. Atari and capture. Wow. Like, that was like a 20 move sequence. And this is in the Fundamentals of Go for Beginner book. So this is just giving you a sense of the type of high level concepts that are introduced in these chapters, but they're really, really important. Technically, all we did was use tactics for ladders and nets with a little bit of shape knowledge, a little bit of understanding that when you have multiple diagonals here and you're trying to capture something, pulling back is often a good move to extend your liberties. But every situation is different, and you need to read out every situation, including when your opponent tries to flail. You start laddering, you start netting, and this time white was able to Atari, but black was actually able to counter Atari and wrap back around. So the Tsuji techniques we learned in this chapter are the squeeze, which was when you allow white to capture a stone so you can loop around and recapture. That's called a squeeze. And then the pullback, which is when you need to extend your liberties if you're trying to capture stuff and you have a hane and you're both haneing each other. Then you pull back to extend your liberties. And that is the chapter on ladders and nets. It was a wild, wild ride to go through. I hope that you enjoyed, and I hope that you learned some stuff. Really, I think the main idea of this chapter is that even though ladders and nets are everywhere, you need to be able to read them out before you get in those situations. Because if you find yourself in a situation and the ladder doesn't work and you don't have a ladder breaker, you shouldn't have gotten in that situation in the first place. And it's really important to see the ladders in your reading before you actually make the moves so you can make the best decisions for yourself. If the moral of this chapter was anything to sum it up, I would say read out everything you play. Because even if it's a simple ladder or a simple net, there are good and bad ways to go about capturing those stones. Firmness is very important, and follow-up moves are very important. If you liked this analysis and this explanation, like, comment, subscribe, let me know. I'll keep making more. I'll do all of the chapters in this book. If you want to pick it up, you can check it in the link in the description below. And as I said in the beginning of this video, if you want Go equipment, you can go to the website in the link below using the code Sente 10, and you get 10% off any Go related item. So have a great, great game, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.